I saw Hateful Eight the way it was supposed to be seen. In glorious 70mm on a giant screen. Perfect seats, great sound system. I even got this nice book that spoils the whole movie for you. Apparently, this was a stage play that Quentin Tarantino liked so much that he turned it into a movie. That's not a good sign for me, because that's essentially what this movie is. A play that was filmed. Most of you aren't going to go see the roadshow version of this movie. You're going to see the wide release, which doesn't include an intermission or an overture at the beginning. And honestly, I don't think you're missing much. 98% of this movie is in a room or in Stagecoach. It's kind of a gimmick. The Master was shot in 70mm, and you can tell, and it was utilized to great effect. Beautiful sweeping shots, lots of motion. It was really epic. But what's the point of shooting Hateful Eight like this? It's a room! The cut of the film I saw was also much longer. I would have actually preferred the shorter version, which the mainstream audiences are going to see. Because if there's one thing that ruined this movie for me, it's this.
It's too fucking long!
This movie is so long and so slow, and it doesn't need to be 3 hours long, which it is. The first 20 minutes are great, and the last act of the movie is fantastic, but everything in between is just, And no, it's not because I'm a brain-dead retard who doesn't admire a slow pace or build-up. It's because there's nothing interesting happening at many points in the film. Some scenes are great in that gap of time, but then we're treated to scenes of people going to the outhouse, and then scenes of people bringing down the road, and scenes of people walking in the snow, and then scenes of people driving their horses. And none of it serves any point to the story. None of it builds tension. It's just tedious. Easily, 20 minutes could have been cut out of this movie. In either the editing phase or even the script phase, but Tarantino does whatever he wants at this point. The thing about reviewing a Tarantino movie is it's almost pointless, because he and his fans at this point will never change. Like, Tarantino's Tarantino, and he'll always do whatever he wants no matter what. And I love him for that, because besides the fact that this movie's too long, way too long, the movie is still phenomenal. There are some tonal inconsistencies, and some characters are more cartoonish than others. The first act of the movie is like completely different from the second half of the movie, but none of that bothered me, because Tarantino knows what he's doing. The last act of the movie especially is so goddamn entertaining. It's one of the best things Tarantino has done in a while. It's got something for everybody. It harkens back to the old Tarantino, who made movies like Jackie Brown, which were very slow and thoughtful, but it also gives you tons of violence and death. I love it. It's grown on me since I've seen it. And I realized that a lot of the slow stuff toward the beginning is actually setting up things that are going to come into play later. Little things, tiny things you didn't even notice. It's hard to ignore the subtext as well. Each character being an archetype or stereotype of a certain group or ideal in American society at the time. The freed slave, the defeated Confederate, the law. It's kind of brilliant. The performances in this are phenomenal, especially Kurt Russell and Sam Jackson, who are at their best when they're interacting with each other. It's really the main thing that kept me invested in the movie at the beginning. The cinematography is gorgeous whenever they're not in a room. Would I recommend this movie? It's worth a shot. It's nice to see Quentin Tarantino do something a little different. A little different. I admire him for that. And there are so many things this movie gets right, from the visuals to the dialogue to the acting to the score. Oh my god, the score. Ennio Morricone wrote the music for this movie, and it's so good. It's the first time Tarantino used an original score, and it's the first time in like 40 years Ennio Morricone composed anything for a Western. Would you say giving this movie an 8 out of 10 is fair? I think it's fair. It's not a great movie, but it's one of the most interesting films Tarantino has made in a long time. I wouldn't recommend the 70mm Roadshow, though. It's only for, like, real film buffs like I am. My dad didn't even notice the movie was shot and projected on film. He doesn't give a shit. Nobody gives a shit.